You know what's absolutely mind-blowing? Right now, as you're watching this, there's a very real chance that people around you find you incredibly attractive, and you have absolutely no clue. Here's something that'll shock you. A recent study from the University of Groningen found that men consistently rate their own attractiveness 20% lower than women rate them. And for men over 40, that gap gets even wider. Translation, you're probably way more handsome than you think you are. But here's where it gets interesting. The signs that prove you're attractive aren't what you'd expect. They have nothing to do with six-pack abs or a full head of hair. In fact, some of the most powerful attractiveness signals are things you're doing right now without even realizing it. Stay with me because what I'm about to share will completely change how you see yourself. And fair warning, by the end of this video, you might finally understand why people have been treating you differently lately. So here's the thing about being a handsome older man. It's less about what you see in the mirror and more about what others experience when they're around you. Society's been feeding us this ridiculous narrative that male attractiveness peaks in your 20s and it's all downhill from there. Complete nonsense. Research from dating platforms shows that men's desirability actually increases through their 30s, 40s, and yes, even into their 50s. But here's the catch, and this is crucial. The markers of attractiveness shift dramatically as you age. What made you handsome at 25 is completely different from what makes you handsome at 45 or 55. The problem? Most men are still looking for the wrong signs. They're checking their hairline when they should be noticing how people lean in when they talk. They're worrying about wrinkles when they should be recognizing the power of their presence. What I'm about to walk you through are 8 scientifically backed, psychologically proven signs that you're more attractive than you realize. And I guarantee at least 3 of these are happening in your life right now. This one catches men completely off guard. Have you noticed that people, especially younger colleagues or even strangers at social gatherings, randomly ask for your perspective on things? Not just practical stuff like, how do I fix this? But deeper questions about relationships, career moves, life decisions. This is massive. Let me explain how this works. When someone finds you attractive as an older man, it's not just physical. There's this phenomenon psychologists call the halo effect of mature attractiveness. Basically, when people perceive you as handsome and put together at your age, they automatically attribute other positive qualities to you: wisdom, stability, success, emotional intelligence. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that physically attractive people are assumed to have 30% higher competence in unrelated areas. Now add age and experience to that equation, and you become what researchers call a high-value advisor. Here's what this actually looks like. You're at a family dinner, and your nephew pulls you aside to ask about his career path. You're at the gym, and someone asks how you stay motivated. A colleague wants to know how you handled a difficult situation. But here's the real kicker. They're not just seeking information. They're seeking connection with someone they admire and find compelling. That's attraction, my friend. Just a different, deeper kind than what you experienced in your 20s. The handsome older man doesn't have to insert himself into conversations. People pull him in. If this is happening to you, you're radiating something powerful, whether you see it or not. This was shocking when I first learned about it, but it makes perfect sense once you understand the psychology. Eye contact is one of the most reliable indicators of attraction across all age groups. But here's what's fascinating about older men specifically. When you're genuinely attractive as a mature man, younger people hold eye contact with you longer than they do with their peers. Research from the University of Aberdeen found that we maintain eye contact 2 to 3 seconds longer with people we find attractive or authoritative. For handsome older men, this number jumps to 4 to 5 seconds because you're triggering both attraction and respect simultaneously. Think about your recent interactions. When you're talking to someone in their 20s or 30s, do they hold your gaze? Do conversations feel unusually focused? Do people seem almost reluctant to look away when you're speaking? This is especially telling in professional environments. If younger colleagues maintain steady eye contact during meetings, if they watch you when you're presenting, if they seem genuinely focused on your face rather than their phones, you're registering on their radar as someone commanding attention. But here's the nuance that most men miss. This isn't about intimidation. Intimidation makes people avoid eye contact. Attraction and admiration make people seek it. There's this phenomenon called social baseline theory, which suggests we unconsciously allocate more attention to people we perceive as valuable. When you're a handsome older man, you represent value on multiple levels: experience, stability, confidence, and yes, physical appeal. Pay attention this week. Notice who holds your gaze and for how long. You might be surprised by what you discover about how others perceive you. This one's going to sound random, but stay with me because the research on this is fascinating. Have you ever noticed that baristas seem friendlier to you? That waitstaff remember your order? That the person at the dry cleaners smiles a bit brighter when you walk in? Before you dismiss this as coincidence, understand that service workers interact with hundreds of people weekly. They develop a finely tuned radar for who's worth engaging with beyond the basic transaction. And handsome older men consistently get better treatment. A Cornell University study on service industry interactions found that attractive customers receive measurably better service, faster response times, more genuine smiles, occasionally complimentary upgrades. But here's where it gets interesting for older men specifically. The study found that for men over 40, the attractiveness advantage in service contexts actually increases compared to younger attractive men. The researchers theorize this happens because older, handsome men represent a combination of appeal and approachability that younger men haven't developed yet. Think about it this way. A handsome 25-year-old might get attention, but there's often guardedness mixed in. A handsome 50-year-old? That comes with assumed safety, maturity, and often better tipping behavior, which service workers definitely notice. This isn't about being creepy or using attraction inappropriately. This is about recognizing that if people in service roles consistently brighten up when you approach, engage you in conversation beyond the transaction, or seem to go slightly above and beyond, you're registering as attractive on a very human level. Have you been downplaying those warm interactions as just people being nice? Maybe it's time to recognize there might be more to it. Here's something that separates genuinely attractive older men from everyone else: the complete lack of need to fill every silence with noise. This might seem unrelated to physical attractiveness, but psychological research has established a fascinating connection. Confidence is the single most powerful amplifier of physical attraction, and nothing signals confidence like comfort with silence. The Harvard Business Review published research showing that people who can maintain comfortable silence are perceived as 40% more confident and authoritative than those who constantly fill gaps in conversation. For older men specifically, this silence reads as wisdom rather than awkwardness. Think about your typical interactions. When there's a pause in conversation, do you rush to fill it, or do you let it breathe? When someone asks you a question, do you immediately respond, or do you take a moment to consider? Handsome older men have this quality that's almost magnetic. They think before they speak. They let silence hang without panic. They understand that pauses create emphasis and demonstrate thoughtfulness. But here's what makes this a sign of attractiveness. People accept your silence. They don't feel uncomfortable, they don't jump in to fill it, they actually seem to appreciate it. Compare this to someone who's insecure about their presence. When they go quiet, people get fidgety. They interpret it as disengagement or awkwardness. But when you go quiet, people lean in. They wait. They value what's coming next. This is rooted in what psychologists call secure attachment in social contexts. When you're comfortable with yourself, others feel comfortable with you. When you don't need constant validation through verbal engagement, people trust your presence. If you can sit across from someone, let the silence stretch for 5 or 10 seconds while you think and have them wait attentively rather than nervously filling the gap, congratulations. You've achieved a level of attractive presence that most men never develop. This is how you know you're making a genuine impression. Have you had someone mention something you said weeks or months ago? Have people referenced small details about your life that you barely remember sharing? Does it seem like people recall your stories or opinions with unusual clarity? This isn't coincidence. This is selective attention in action. Neuroscience research from MIT shows that our brains prioritize and store information about people we find engaging or attractive. It's an evolutionary mechanism. We remember details about people we might want to maintain connections with. But here's what's specific to handsome older men. People don't just remember what you said, they remember how they felt during the interaction. And that combination creates powerful, lasting impressions. Think about recent social situations. Has someone said, "Hey, didn't you mention you were into woodworking?" Or, "I was thinking about that story you told about your trip to Colorado." These callbacks aren't random. They're evidence that you occupied mental real estate. There's a concept in psychology called source monitoring, where our brains tag memories with context about where and from whom we learned something. When you're attractive, in the full sense, not just physically, people's brains flag interactions with you as worth preserving. This manifests in interesting ways. Maybe someone brings up a book recommendation you made casually 6 months ago. Maybe they reference your opinion on something when you're not even in the room. Maybe they connect you with opportunities because they remembered your interests. The truly handsome older man often has no idea how frequently he comes up in other people's thoughts and conversations. If people are consistently demonstrating that interactions with you stuck with them, you're creating the kind of memorable presence that defines mature attractiveness. This one requires some nuance to understand correctly. Let's be clear about what we're discussing here. This isn't about inappropriate attention or uncomfortable dynamics. This is about recognizing a specific pattern of respectful, engaged interaction that indicates you're attractive in a sophisticated way. Have you noticed that women significantly younger than you, we're talking 15 to 25 years younger, seem genuinely interested in talking with you at social events, work functions, or even casual settings? And these conversations aren't brief pleasantries. They're substantive, they flow naturally, and they often extend well beyond what the situation requires. This is actually a well-documented phenomenon. Research from the Journal of Social Psychology found that younger women engage in longer conversations with older men they find attractive, but the nature of these conversations differs significantly from peer interactions. The key distinguishing factor: these interactions feel safe, interesting, and mutual. There's laughter, genuine curiosity, substantive topics. It's not flirtation exactly, it's something deeper. It's the recognition of someone who represents an appealing combination of experience, confidence, and yes, physical attractiveness. Psychologists call this non-romantic attraction, and it's incredibly powerful. It means someone finds your overall presence compelling enough to invest time and attention even without romantic possibility. Here's what this looks like in practice. You're at a wedding, and your friend's daughter ends up in a 20-minute conversation with you about travel or career or books. You're at a work conference, and younger colleagues seek you out during breaks. You're at the gym, and someone half your age asks about your workout routine and stays to chat. The genuinely handsome older man often misreads these interactions as mere politeness. But politeness is brief. Politeness is surface level. What we're describing here is sustained engagement, which only happens when someone finds you genuinely interesting and attractive as a complete package. If this is happening regularly in your life, you're projecting something powerful that you probably aren't giving yourself credit for. Pay close attention to this because it's one of the most reliable indicators. When people find you genuinely attractive, they don't give you vague compliments. They mention specific things. And the specificity tells you everything about whether you're actually registering as handsome versus just receiving obligatory pleasantries. Generic compliment: "You look nice today." Specific compliment: "That jacket really works with your build," or "You have really kind eyes," or "Your voice is so calming." The difference is massive. Generic compliments require no observation or thought. Specific compliments mean someone actually looked at you, really looked, and noticed something that stood out to them. Research from the University of Texas found that specific compliments correlate with genuine attraction 73% of the time, while generic compliments correlate with mere politeness 89% of the time. The specificity indicates cognitive processing, which only happens when someone's brain has decided you're worth analyzing. For older men, these specific compliments often focus on things you've probably never considered attractive. Your hands, your voice, the way you dress, your posture, your smile lines, even the gray in your hair or beard. Here's something that'll blow your mind. A survey of women aged 25 to 45 asked what they notice about attractive older men. The top 5 answers were hands, voice, how he carries himself, his smile, and how his clothes fit. Not a single response mentioned abs, height, or hairline in the top 10. Think about compliments you've received recently. Have people mentioned your watch collection? The way you smell? Your eyebrows? The crinkles around your eyes when you smile? These aren't random observations. These are indicators that someone looked close enough and long enough to notice details. The handsome older man often dismisses these compliments as throwaway comments. They're not. They're evidence of sustained attention, which is the foundation of attraction. This final sign is subtle, but once you start noticing it, you'll see it everywhere. Human beings unconsciously adjust their appearance when they're about to interact with someone they find attractive or impressive. It's called preening behavior, and it's one of the most reliable nonverbal indicators in psychology. Watch for these specific behaviors. Someone running fingers through their hair before approaching you, adjusting their collar or straightening their shirt, checking their reflection quickly, standing up straighter, or even quickly checking their phone, which is often actually checking their reflection in the black screen. This happens across genders and ages. Men do it before approaching you at networking events. Women do it before conversations at social gatherings. Younger people do it instinctively when they realize you're about to engage with them. A fascinating study from UCLA used hidden cameras in social settings to track preening behavior. They found that people engage in these micro-adjustments 3 to 4 times more frequently before interacting with someone they perceive as high status or attractive compared to neutral interactions. For handsome older men specifically, this manifests in interesting ways. Maybe you've noticed people briefly touch their face or hair when you walk up. Maybe they adjust their posture when you join a conversation. Maybe they seem to check themselves quickly before approaching your desk or table. This isn't vanity on their part. This is unconscious social calibration. Their brain has registered you as someone worth presenting well to, and it's happening automatically before they even realize it. The reason most men miss this sign completely is timing. These adjustments happen in the 2 to 3 seconds before interaction begins. You have to be observant to catch them. But once you start watching for this pattern, you'll be amazed how often it occurs. If people consistently seem to prepare themselves before talking to you, even in casual contexts, you're emanating a level of attractiveness that triggers instinctive response. That's powerful confirmation of your appeal. So here's what we've covered. 8 concrete, observable signs that you're more handsome than you realize. People seeking your opinion without prompting. Extended eye contact from younger people. Preferential treatment from service workers. Comfort with silence that others respect. People remembering specific details about you. Extended conversations with younger women that feel substantive and mutual. Specific compliments rather than generic ones. And people unconsciously adjusting their appearance before interacting with you. Now, I want you to honestly count how many of these apply to your life. 3 or more? You're absolutely in handsome older man territory, whether you've been acknowledging it or not. 5 or more? You're in the top tier of male attractiveness for your age group, and you've probably been severely underestimating your appeal. But here's the thing that matters most. Recognizing your attractiveness isn't about ego. It's about understanding the impact you have on others so you can show up more confidently and authentically in all your relationships. Which brings me to something crucial. Everything we've discussed today is about how others perceive you. But there's another side to this equation that's equally important, being able to read the signs when someone finds you attractive. Specifically, when it comes to women showing interest, there are four specific body parts she'll show you, consciously or unconsciously, when she likes you. And most men completely miss these signals because they're not looking in the right places. I've put together everything you need to know in a video called Four Body Parts She Shows If She Likes You Female on Psychology, and you need to watch it immediately after this one. Why? Because now that you understand you're more attractive than you realized, you need to know how to recognize when women are responding to that attractiveness. This isn't about pickup techniques or manipulation. This is about understanding genuine signals of interest so you don't miss opportunities or misread situations. The science behind this is fascinating, and it'll completely change how you interpret interactions. That video is appearing on your screen right now. Click it, watch it all the way through, and I promise you'll never misread social situations the same way again. Your attractiveness deserves to be met with awareness. Go get that knowledge right now.